So UFC 305 took place on Saturday, and these are matchups that I would like to see being made next. So starting off, you got Carlos Prates. Now he had arguably a career best performance in there against Li Jingliang, KO'ing him in the second round. Brutal highlight reel KO. Now there has been a rumored matchup for him, which is MVP. I've seen people talking about that online. Fun matchup, really, actually a really good matchup to be honest. Two really good strikers, but it's not the matchup that I had in mind. For me, obviously, you'll need to hear me out for this one. Vicente Luque, he's currently ranked number 13 in the welterweight division. Obviously, there were rumors that he was going to fight Nick Diaz, but that fight got cancelled or whatever. They said they are going to reschedule it, but there's been nothing more spoke about. So ideally, Carlos Prates could get in there and fight Vicente Luque. I think it's a very fun matchup stylistically, and I feel like this would be a good way for Prates to get into the welterweight rankings. I think he would be able to KO Vicente Luque. He is on a decline, in my opinion, and this would be a good way to get him in there with a big name like Vicente Luque, get him ranked. I think that is a really fun matchup, and even if Vicente Luque took this fight and then lost, you could still do the Nick Diaz fight. I don't really think that would harm him in terms of getting the Nick Diaz fight, if that makes sense. Carlos Prates, Vicente Luque. Next up in the heavyweight division, Tai Tuivasa. I think it's time for him to call it quits, to be honest, in the UFC. To be brutally honest, he's just not good enough. That's really pretty much it. For what the UFC would pay this man, I know he is a fan favourite and stuff, but skill wise, he's just not good enough, in my opinion, anyway. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, though, on the other hand, he beat Tai Tuivasa there clearly, and he's just coming off a win over Shamil Gaziev as well. He derailed that hype train. I think he does deserve a big jump up. Why not give him Sergey Pavlovich? A striking matchup. Both guys have serious KO power. I think that's a fun one. Sergey Pavlovich, he needs to get back in the win column. He is on a 2-fight losing streak now. Jairzinho is on a 2-fight win streak. I think he deserves a jump up in the rankings. And stylistically, that's just a really fun fight, in my opinion. Someone is definitely getting knocked out in that fight. It would be a fun one to see. Jairzinho versus Sergey Tai Tuivasa. Send him the Bellator or something. Next up, Mateusz Gamrot was robbed by Dan Hooker. Let's be honest. Gamrot, though, what should be next for him as he is ranked now number 8? The winner of Benoit Saint-Denis versus Moicano. Now, this does depend on who wins that fight, because if Moicano wins, then they're doing Moicano Pimlet. So that all depends on that. I think Benoit Saint-Denis is going to absolutely batter Moicano in there. So I feel like it will be Gamrot versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Again, I don't like that fight for Gamrot. I think Benoit Saint-Denis kicks the shit out of him. But that is the situation Gamrot is unfortunately in at the minute. Gamrot versus the winner of Benoit Saint-Denis versus Money Moicano. Dan Hooker is ranked number 5 now in the lightweight division. Crazy. There are a lot of fun fights for him. Obviously, the Poirier rematch people have spoke about. He's hinted at a possible matchup with Charles Oliveira, which is a very fun one. But for me, if Gaethje isn't going to fight Poirier next, I think you do Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje. Tell me that isn't such a fun fight that can be made. A really good striking matchup. Don't know how well it would go for Dan Hooker. I mean, the guy can't take a lot of punishment, but I don't know. I think Justin Gaethje would be able to stop Dan Hooker in there, but that is a really fun fight and one I would like to see. Moving on to the co-main event, Kai Kara-France, obvious for him. Pantoja, they have history together. Pantoja beat him on The Ultimate Fighter. I think stylistically it's a really fun fight, and Pantoja needs a new challenger, let's be honest. Pantoja obviously wins a lot of fights through his grappling, and he's not a bad striker, but there obviously is a bit of a hole in his striking that we have seen people exploit before. Kai Kara-France is the better striker in my opinion. Obviously has KO power. He's got a lot of KOs in the first round, which is kind of weird for a flyweight. And he has got really good takedown defense, so it'll be interesting to see how Pantoja would do in there. Obviously, he's beat him before years ago. I think he would beat him again. Pantoja just knows how to get the job done. That's the fight I would like to see for him. Steve Ercik, 2-fight losing streak now. Maybe give him Alex Perez, a guy that's ranked above him. I think that would be a fun fight to see what level he's at. Finally, main event, Dricus du Plessis. Obviously, coming off that win over Israel Adesanya, he is fighting Sean Strickland next. That has been confirmed. Their rematch is 100% going to be happening next, unless someone gets injured. But we know what's happening for Dricus. For Israel Adesanya, I made a whole video about the guy. You can check it out on my page. It is, I won't be in my last video, the video before that. He's in a really weird situation now because it's hard for him to be built up as a contender again because he is such a big star. I feel like what should be next for Adesanya, it's either going to be the loser of Whittaker versus Hamzat, or I think they should do him versus Yuri Prohaska, either at 185 if Yuri's moving down, or maybe if Adesanya wants to move up and challenge himself in a new division at 205. Either way, that is the matchup I would like to see next for Israel Adesanya. Those are the matchups I'm going to see for everybody on the main card of UFC 305. Let me know your opinion in the comments below.